Hi, and welcome to episode 179 of Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. I'm your host, Stuart Burgess, and joining me as always is the other spark on the pod, Mr. Stephen Carter.
Hello, mate. How are we doing this week? You okay?
Yeah, good. Yeah, long week. It's my last day actually on work today, and I'm just getting over a bit of a cold. So if I feel a bit sort of like bunged up or I sound bunged up and snuffly, I apologise. But I'm just getting out the back of the whole family's had quite a bad cold. So it's I'm on that annoying stage where when you talk, especially with headphones on, it just feels like your head is like a sealed carrier bag, for what's a better way of putting it.
Especially when, like, say, kids and it does rounds, it like gets people one by one, doesn't it? It's like, oh, I'm all right, and then next day you wake up like, oh no, it's got me. Like, it gets you eventually, doesn't it? It eventually gets you.
Well, I remember talking to one of my good friends. I can't remember who it was now. I remember talking to someone a while back, and they were saying about they've got a young child like yourself, and they were like, oh, it must be wonderful having a 15-year-old because at the moment, whatever the child's name was, has just started nursery, and they're bringing back all these colds. It's terrible. And I went, oh no, it doesn't stop. The colds just get worse. I said, when they go to secondary school, you get malaria and you get things like that. You don't just get a common cold. But I said, especially when you see some of the unisex toilets that they have in schools these days. It is just like, and he's like, oh God, I thought when they went to primary school and secondary school, they didn't bring back germs. I went, no, they still bring stuff back. And then I said, then they go off to college and university and start bringing back a boyfriend or a girlfriend.
Yeah.
So they're always bringing something back.
It never changed. Like the stress just changes slightly, doesn't it? It never goes away. It just changed ever so slightly. But yeah, we've got Seb starting school in September as he turns 4. So like he'll start with that.
Wow.
Oscar will start nursery in September full time when he's 1 in July, so when he's a little bit above 1. So Oscar will start with all the germs from there. Seb will start with all the germs from school, and it's just like, I'm glad I work from home because it's like
and it will just go round and round and round and round in the house.
Yeah, I know, and I'm glad, like I say, I'm glad I work from home because in some respects, if I had to travel to the office, I'd be like, no, I'm not working today. At least I can drag myself to my desk when I'm not feeling great. At least I can still manage work. I don't have to drive there and commute and what have you. So I'm a little bit more tolerable. Little bit. Emphasis on the little bit.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to then stand. I mean, I suppose the advantage of me is that because I build cinemas for a living, like today, I've been downstairs in the basement on my own. We're sort of getting to the final stages, so I'm just installing the speakers, so the door's closed. I've got my headphones on, I'm listening to some podcasts, and I'm just on my own. So it's great because I can feel rubbish in a room on my own, and then I don't have to stand there and talk to people whilst picking up a tissue and wiping my nose or coughing to one side.
Yeah, keep yourself to yourself. You can just keep out of the way and keep busy, can't you, I suppose? And again, working from home, you don't have to converse to people in the office or anything. It's like I'm sitting in my room, in my dark room. I'll answer the phone when I need to, but apart from that, just don't disturb me. Don't bother me. Leave me alone.
Yeah, I can see the phone ringing. I'm not going to pick this one up. So what have you been playing? Sorry, Anthony. What have you been playing?
I was going to say it'll come as no great shock, Stu, given we have just received the latest update for it. Albeit very briefly, but the latest update of Fortnite. So I always get these mixed up. Like I always feel that it should be season then chapter, but Fortnite works chapter and season. All right, in saying that, so it's like chapter X then season X rather than the other way around. I always think it should be the other way around. So when it's new chapter, is it new season? I always get confused. So it's the new season of the latest
new season
chapter. I want to say.
I think so. It's season 2, chapter 2. I can't remember. Your question. I could question it myself now. I can't remember.
This is what I mean. As soon as I think about it, it's like I don't have no idea. Well, obviously, as we alluded to in the last one, it's the Rivals season, not chapter. It's the Rivals one.
I'm looking.
So yes,
carry on talking.
I'll keep going. So yes, we're on the Rivals one.
Here we go. As of April the 26th, it's Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 2.
Chapter 7 Season 2. So we're on the latest season of Chapter 7. Okay, there we go. So it's the Rivals one. So you've got the Foundation, which is the Rock versus I can't remember the other guy's name. Ice King, isn't it? Yeah, that's it. So you basically choose a side. You pin your clothes to the mast. You choose which one you're going to go with, and you stick to it. The idea is obviously you go through it, and you can initiate the rival battles mid game. So then you have to hunt down your opposing person, kill them, and it goes to a tally. And obviously, as the season progresses, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
right. Yeah.
There's a tally, and the winner gets, or the people who are on that side get bonuses and such. But obviously, with the update, there's updates to the map, there's update to the battle pass, there's new characters, there's also the bits and bobs of weapons as well. And my brief dabbling with it, Stu, I must admit, I actually do quite like it. I have enjoyed it from what I have played. I do quite like the rivals mechanic. I suspect it might get frustrating if like you get into like the last 10 and someone initiates it, because obviously it gives you a rough area of where you are. It doesn't give you a location as such. It gives you obviously the ring around where you are. So then it obviously it helps towards the end game of hunting people down. So it can go in your favour. But obviously if you're trying to be a bit sneaky, it can obviously affect that. But obviously there's new gadgets, new weapons. I must admit I do like the deployable zip line, the sky hook thing. I do like that, because obviously again if you're trying to get away from the incoming storm, that helps. The storms are still not a perfect circle, which again I think that tweaks things and changes things a little bit. There've been different shapes. I think I had one that was a crown. I think a crown shape one. There's a triangle one.
Yeah. So it basically if my I've gone down the rabbit hole. I always get this. So when I get into a game, I end up going down the rabbit hole of watching YouTube videos about
Mm.
it. And if I'm right in saying the YouTube video I saw about a guide to the season was that it represents the one of the characters. So the crown is for the Ice King. I think you might get like a fish, which is fish
Fish
stick,
stick, yeah.
and then you get then they get the foundation, which I can't remember what the foundation one is. But yeah, but apparently you can see it on the map before it actually goes there, so you know where it's going to end up eventually. But no, I mean I've been having great fun with it, and I've also found that if you I was playing a game the other night and I went to go find a rival, and of course it says we can't find a rival. And then I realised that okay, because I was outside of the area, I was technically in where the storm's going to come. But what I have found literally last night before, I can't remember now, was you can literally go down to there's just 2 or 3 of you on the map, and you can still select a rival. So annoyingly, I got my Lord of the Rings dragon as my fly-in thing, and I was somewhere like Humble Hills or something like that, and I clicked my rival. It showed me where the rival was, and I literally flew in on my dragon with the foundation because I'd hired the foundation. Flew in on my dragon. This person standing in front of me, and within the rivals, you can select one of the weapons. One of the weapons you get in there is I can't think what it's called now. I was going to write it down, and I forgot. But it's almost like a pistol, a legendary pistol, and you can literally one-shot people if you get them square in the head. So I literally just like descended from the sky on my dragon with the foundation somewhere near me. I'm not sure. It wasn't on my dragon, and I landed in front of this person. This person is trying to shoot me, and I just take out my pistol and I just like bang, and it's got Victory Royale.
Brilliant.
And of course, and I'm like the one time I've bought myself an Elgato capture card to record some, so we can overlay to this pod, which is hopefully what you're watching now if I got time to do it. But of course, I forgot that you can press and hold the capture button on the Xbox and get the last 10 seconds, I think it is. But no, after we last podded, yeah, I jumped straight into it. I wasn't 100% sure of rivals at the beginning. And I'm like, I'm not sure about this. And then I started sort of like I normally do, playing in the morning and playing sometimes when I get back from work. And I just literally I will land near the Foundation's head office. I can't think what it's called now. I will land there, and there's a little caravan park or trailer park off to the one side. So I land there, stock up, and then you also get your daily achievements if you do if you do I think it's 3 rivals, win 1, and then buy something from the rivals board. So I go to the rivals board, buy my 2,000 or 200,000 XP boost, I think it is. And then get a rival, and then literally I just will play arcade rivals for the first 5-10 minutes, and I will find someone, I will kill them usually, will then go to the next rivals board, click a rivals, and I just keep on doing that for the first 10 minutes. And I'm really happy because I think, I'm not sure, actually hold on a second, I brought it up. At the moment I have 144 kills in rivals, so I'm really, really proud of myself because for the limited amount of time I get to play, I'm happy with 144.
Yeah.
What are you on, Steve?
I think I was on like 4 or 5. I think so. I mean,
No, it's 4. It's not 5.
Yeah.
It's 4.
I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say it's fairly limited, but I think it's the 2 games I have played. I'm on 100%. I won both games that I've played,
Yep.
so I'm kind of almost like I don't want to ruin the hot streak. I'm on 100%. Like that's enough for me. But no, I haven't had a chance really this week. But yeah, I must admit, like the brief dabbling that I've done. I did enjoy it, and like I say, it's that almost like those modes where people can invade your game online, where they can obviously like it's a bit like that. That it's like I'm trying to do this, and someone says, "Oh, I'm hunting you down." It's like, yeah, but I don't really want you to do that because it's spoiling what I'm trying to do. But again, I understand why they've done it because obviously they have to keep doing things to keep it fresh. They have to give people different reasons to play and things. And obviously, if you want to just play how it used to be. There's the OG mode, so obviously you can go backwards and play old maps and old styles. But yeah, it's I think it's enough of an interesting hook and dynamic to not ruin the fundamental thing. Because obviously you used to get bounties anyway, so realistically, it's not really different from the bounties that you used to get anyway. It's more prevalent, I get that, but again, everyone's trying to find you and kill you anyway. So again, it's not really like someone's going to come across you and not try and kill you. It's just they might know the rough area where you're going to be. So, I quite like it. I think it's quite good, and you've got the buy-in of obviously your team to make them progress, and obviously get the the bonuses and things as the season goes on. So again, it sort of hooks people in and ties them to that. To well, I've got to do this, and I've got to do my rivals and blah 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 because then it tallies, and I can get my new unlocks and things. So in some ways, beyond obviously we spoke I think last week or the last pod, sorry. Obviously, like the battle pass things are changing, or if the V Bucks things are changing, they've got to find other ways to obviously hook people in, and by having an allegiance, I guess that kind of does that in some ways.
Yeah, I mean I mean I was just looking at so if you've not played it, you sort as Steve said, you go in and pick which one you want to be, and you can't change it. You're on that, and it's quite split even at the moment.
Yeah, I was surprised how close it was actually.
Yeah, and then you have sort of like, for want of a better word of putting it, you have like I suppose I'm going to show my age now. You know, when people raise money for charities and like telethons and that back in the day, you had that thermometer as it rises,
Yeah.
and basically on this horizontal thermometer, you've got key bits where you unlock something. And actually, what was quite cool was I think it was because I'm Team Foundation, I think it was, and I think it was Team Ice King. Like the second one was a pizza, and I'm like, hey. What's the pizza about?
Mm.
And actually, the pizza's really cool because you eat like 3 bits of pizza, and your shield is back up to full power.
Yeah.
So that's been quite good. But what has really, really sort of like, so I'm happy at 144. And I'm like, you know what, top 500, apparently get some actual merch. So your little character that you could create, your sidekick within the game. Apparently, the top 500 people are going to get a real life 3D printed version of that. And I'm like, all right, okay,
Cool.
I'll have a go at this, see if I can get there. I'm not, because would you like to guess? Would you like to guess after 2 weeks? I think it is 2 weeks since it launched. 2 weeks tomorrow, I think it is. So 2 weeks tomorrow, as we record. Would you like to guess the number one person in the world and how many kills they have?
As in rivals kills.
as a rival kills. Compared to my 144, the top person in the world is a Joa Cruf, JoAoCrrFRY. He's Team Ice King, or I say him. They are Team Ice King. Would you like to guess how many kills they've got?
Trying to think because you shared a screen after a few days, didn't you? I'm trying to think what that number was, and even
Yeah.
then it was something insane. Yeah, you.
And they're not a creator, because I've noticed on here that you can look at creators, so they're not a creator. They look like they are
just a general player.
Say a standard player.
Yeah, definitely not standard.
The creator, the actual creator, the top creators has got 500. Actually, no. It's got about 200 less than this person, or more. Sorry, yeah. So the top creator's got 200 less than the person that's top of the global rankings. But how many do you think that is? It's less than 10 grand. I'll give you that.
I'm going to guess. I'm going to say 5,000. I'm going to go for about 5k.
Nope.
7.5.
9,668.
Oh, Jesus, how many is that per game? How many per game per days? Does that work out at? Like that must be like what, 9?
Let's do a live calculation, shall we? Let's get my calculator down. So if we have
how many? 9,000 what?
9,668. Let's say, for argument's sake, divided by 14 days. That's
like
609 kills a day.
Just...
So if you divide that by, let's say, I don't know.
Well, if you said 12 hours, that's
15 kills. That's 46 games a day at 15 kills a game.
I can't even kill 15 people in a game. I can't even kill people. I could probably kill 15 people in total in maybe 3 or 4 games, let alone one game. I think when I've reached double digits, I'm like, wow, I've really, really done well there. But to kill that many people every single game, where's the fun in that? You've peaked there, haven't you? You've really peaked at that point.
Well, I think the problem is it's that classic case. It's like every sport. It's like football. Once you go ahead, you've got to stay ahead, and sometimes you've got to score another goal to get ahead. So I would imagine they're sitting there looking at. I mean, if you look at the actual charts, they've got 9,668. The next person's got 9,538. The next person's got 9,492. You have to go down to. I mean, you go down to top 20 has still got 6,300.
These must be streamers.
So,
they have to be all streamers are
unemployed.
I was going to say like esports, but yeah, definitely unemployed as well.
But I mean, hats off if you're doing that many games a day and you're making a living out of Twitch streaming that. Then hats off.
I'm only saying that out of jealousy. I'm saying it purely out of jealousy.
Yeah. But no, I mean, I've been really enjoying it. I mean, I hate to say it, but I think I'm at level 45 already in the battle pass.
That is good going.
Yeah. But what I've sort of because I generally will get a couple of games, 2 or 3 games in the morning, depending, because obviously a game could last you about 20 minutes if you get all the way to the end, or you're really trying. So I might do anything from 2 to 6 games a day, sort of 2, 3 in the morning, 2, 3 in the afternoon, depending on when I get back. But so what I've been doing is I've been looking at the quest, doing my weekly quest, landing where I need to land and whatever. But I've literally sort of been landing down by the Foundation's base because I know the area. I've been hitting the rivals until a point that I need to start moving across the other side of the map or something like that, and then I start to get into the okay, right, let's go for a victory now. But I played one the other night to sort of close out the Fortnite stuff-ish, which was just as well as my Dragon one. This one was brilliant because I always try and get high ground in any game I play, whether it's Fortnite, whether it's Battlefield, whether it's COD, or whether it's Halo. I always try and get high ground, and all of a sudden I realised that I was one of the last 2, and I just could not see this person. Then all of a sudden I saw on the mound of hill, out at one of the hills outside, I think it's where the studio's development bit is. I saw them up there, sort of jumping around, and I had a rocket launcher, so I set off a couple of rockets up that way. So they knew they were being watched, and then I then run literally to flank them, and I literally run around flank them, and then I must have crawled all the way up the hill really, really slowly, and I got all the way to the top of the hill, and then all of a sudden I got to the brow of the hill, and as I pictured the brow of the hill, I could see their head looking at where I came from, and I just took that pistol out, got right up behind them, and just one shotted them in the head.
Brilliant.
And again, it was just one of those ones where it's like, damn, I wish I'd recorded that because that was one bloody awesome. But and then I did a U after your 2 of 2. I just
Yeah,
quit,
that's it. I'm done now.
like
Yeah.
did me emoji dance, pressed close Xbox, went off to work.
It does get the. It's silly to say it though, but it does get the old the blood pumping when you get into that sort of like tense moment there, doesn't it? Of like when it's like a one on one shootout to the end. It's like, oh, like you kind of feel pressure and you're like, I've got to find a way. Got to, I can't lose it now. Can't lose it now. Can't lose it now. And then when you do get it, it's very satisfying when you do get that win.
Well, as I say, for me, especially just lately, I've been really busy with business, with work, and that I've never got enough time. But I've just taken on another business today as we record this. I've sort of taken over a business to business publication with a friend, well, for a friend. He's sort of stepping away from it, doing a bit of traveling. He's asked me to take it over, and because I'm old and have bad knees, I've got to stop sort of building cinemas, and I'm sort of going into promoting them and things like that. So, so I only really get a little bit of time unless I get to the weekends, like with Easter weekend, as we are probably as this come out, we're in,
Hmm.
but as we record this, we're getting up to. So actually, Fortnite for me just fits in really nicely to something that I could just bash out, play a couple of games, go off to work, or come back from work and then play a couple of games, and cook dinner and spend the evening with the girls. So for me, it's just I find it's perfect. Then Anthony said about a mode the other night, didn't he? Which I think I must go in and try. Tycoon Raft 2.
Yeah, he mentioned it. Yeah, so this is a great thing, isn't it? That you've got all the, like you say, the creator modes and all these other different things. And so there's obviously all the various offshoots. So even somebody who is anti, I don't want to say anti Fortnite, but obviously not as much into Fortnite as we are, like Chesson, you could maybe coerce him into say, well, should we just, mess about and do something else? Let's go do another mode. So at least, they're in, but not necessarily playing the Battle Royale mode then.
Although out of all the Sparks, Anthony, I think is the only one who's never played Fortnite because I think Manny's been on there. He's got a couple of rivals. I think James has got a couple of rivals on there. I saw. So come on, Anthony, step up and play some
Playing the
Fortnite.
side
Get
down.
down with the kids, man. Get down with the kids. Other bits and pieces I've been playing. I sort of picked up Plucky Squire again after Christmas, which I've been quite enjoying. That's quite a cool little game. That's you play as the Plucky Squire, and the whole game is set around a book. So the pages turn, and you're traveling through the book, and there's narration, and you're going to try and beat the boss. But every now and again, you have to escape the book, and you go into the 3D world. And I remember Anthony playing it, and he was raving about it. He said you sort of do get a bit, not bored, but you do get used to jumping out the book and coming to the 3D world. But it's got some nice mechanics to it, whereby you realise you've got to move something or do something. So you jump out of the book, you go back to a page that you were near before, where there might be a letter you need to pick up or a word you need to pick up, or something you need to pick up, and you pick it up and you take it away with you. You turn the pages of the book again, you take that word into the page of the book that you're in, and that enables you to open a door, or it might be a key or something like that. I've yet to finish it. I think I'm quite close to the end, but I jumped into that at the weekend and had a bit of a play with that, and that was really good. I quite enjoy it. Again, you don't really have to think about it. It's not like Crimson Desert and things like that at the moment, which are a lot of people playing, which are not really up my street. But it's quite a nice sort of sit down in the morning with a cup of coffee before the day starts, and just play a little bit of play along to a story and sort of jump in and out, and just it's pretty chill, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just watching a video about it, and it very much seems like a crossover almost between, is it Paper Mario? There was Paper Mario that
Yeah.
came out on the DS and the GameCube, and then I'm trying to remember the name. Is it Unraveled? Was it one of the Vita launched
Oh,
titles? And
yeah,
that was a bit
yeah.
sort of
Where you
paper.
sort of like, yeah, where you were a woolen animal, and you used the wool of your animal to sling it out,
Yeah,
go
there's
over
some
canyons and things like.
some sort of
Yeah,
public paper craft, and again, this is the sort of beauty of things like Game Pass, isn't it? That you can just pick up these little games that, like you say, that you a little bit like Fortnite, really. I guess pick up and play, just have a dabble. And you might not necessarily see it through, but well, I've played it, I've enjoyed it. If I don't complete it, I don't complete it. But you've experienced it, then you've had a little go, which otherwise you probably would never have touched it.
no, I sort of had it on my wish list. I think I bought it when it came down in price, and I think that was when they usually do their Christmas sales. So but yeah, I mean, it's certainly a good game. The other game that I was waiting to play for ages, and again, I put it into my wish list, and it came up, which was Satisfactory. And I'm sorry to say, but for me, it was very unsatisfactory. It was described to me as a first person sort of POV uh, builder. So like a sim, sort of like you do here, you go here, you build this, you build that. And I sort of went into it, and you land on a planet, and then you have to then go and mine for iron, and then copper, and then I can't think the other one now. Like a sandstone, and then you get your stuff, and you go back to this base, and then you unlock it, and you unlock it, and you unlock it. Then it just kept on unlocking things, and it kept on getting me to do things which I was getting confused about, because I was like, well, hold on a second, but I've now depleted, because when you first go to like an iron mound, there's a mound, and you mine it, and you get lots of iron. And then when you go back there later on, you have to really sort of mine at it to get it back. And I'd sort of mined everywhere I could mine. And I'm like, well, I've still got no automation. I can't seem to, automate the digging of these holes and get to these maps I've seen on, reviews and things like that. And then I thought, well, okay, let's go a bit further. So, because it was almost like you have to rig up to electricity, and I'm like, well, where do I get electricity from? Because this is a planet. There's not like an electricity pylon
Mm.
anywhere. So I thought, okay, let's wander a bit further. So I wandered a bit further, and I got a load of material, loads and loads of materials. I thought, excellent. So I walked all the way back to my base. There's no fast travel, and it was like go from A to B, and I could die, or go from A to C and I could die, or go from A to B to C and I'll be safe. But that's twice as long. So of course, I went from A to C and died, lost all of my packs in the middle of this area, and now I can't go back to the packs and get unless I every time I go back to pick up my death packages, I die again. So at that point, I just was like, "Ah, oh, sod this," and I just put it down. And it's annoying because it's one I was really looking forward to playing, and I will potentially watch a couple of YouTube videos or and learn it, because I think once you get your head around it, it's quite good. But it did sort of like I found the hand holding was a little bit too vague for me. But hey, I mean, it must be good, because I think IGN gave it like 9 out of 10 or something like that. So it must be a good game. But for me, it was just a little bit unsatisfactory.
I'm just again, I'm just watching a trailer as you're talking about it. It seems to look very sort of like No Man's Sky esque,
Yeah,
that sort of thing.
yeah,
You're just wandering around, crafting, building things, collecting materials, that sort of thing. Which, again, I like the sound of that. I kind of like that I can just wander about, do my own thing, da da da. But then to a certain point, it's just a bit of, a little bit of. I almost feel like a little bit of what's the point? Do you know what I mean? Is like I need a bit sometimes a bit more of a reason for doing things rather than just sort of mindlessly. I'm not that sometimes not that creative either. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well, just build your own thing. It's like, well, yeah, but
yeah.
I'd like a little bit of guidance on what to build and how to build it, because otherwise, I'm just like it'll be the most boring and bland base or monument, whatever it is you're trying to build. But I mean, it does seem like just watching this video that there's a lot of options, a lot of crafting to do. So I guess if that's your jam, if that's your thing, then you're probably going to lose yourself for quite a lot of hours doing this by the looks of it.
Well, I think for me, I was looking for something a little bit like City Skylines or even like SteamWorld. I mean, was it not last Christmas, the Christmas before, I got into SteamWorld Dig 2. And then I actually then went back and played SteamWorld Dig as well. Um, and I quite like those sort of like you build this little bit here and then it expands and then you build a little bit more and it expands, or you like SteamWorld Dig, you dig down here and then you which ways you go left or right and you uncover and find all these things. So I was sort of trying to find something which was like, I don't know, it was a bit of a game where I didn't really again, I suppose it's apart from sort of like Fortnite and Halo and a few things like that I play. Um, it was a bit of a like switch it on a Saturday morning whilst I'm having a coffee and just do an hour or so and maybe build a factory and build a, you know, okay, I could get this bit here. And because I think it was SteamWorld, but you used to mine, and it was, you used to go, right, okay, tomorrow when I've got a few hours, I'm going to go down there and build that, and that'll let me mine that, and that'll let me unlock that area. And that's what I was sort of looking for, but I just didn't get it in the end. So at the moment, I have parked it. I must be honest, I did ask for a refund, but Microsoft wouldn't give it to me because I think I'd played it for about 3 hours. So it's sitting there. It's in my library. I will get round to it, and I will update the listeners to how I get on with it. But at the moment, it just annoyed me because I couldn't get my loot back,
Yeah.
which is completely my fault.
Yeah, but it's one of them, isn't it? I guess it's one of those where it's like it's like if a game like hasn't saved and you have to go back too far. It's like, well, I've lost 5 or 6 hours here. Like, no, I had that with the Oblivion remaster recently. I got a bug when I was on the Shivering Isles, and my last save was about 5 hours previous. I'm like, I'm not doing, like, I'm not doing that. No, no. As much as I love Oblivion and as great as the remaster was, I just like, no, I'm not doing it. No, you've lost me. You've
No.
lost me. No, I'm cutting my nose off to spite my face. Yes, I am.
Funnily enough, I was having a conversation with my daughter about 6 months ago about game saving. And, you know, the typical parent of going, you don't realize how good you got it, darling.
Mm.
Where, like, you know, going back to the NES days where your save was on the cartridge.
Mm.
And then if you sold your cartridge and then you decided you wanted to play it again, unless you got the same cartridge back, which was, you're not going to get the same cartridge back, you lost your save. Or
Mhm.
or you couldn't save. There was just no save. So
Yeah.
I said, you know, to start up, I mean, she's had a friend over today and they've been playing Fall Guys. So I said to be able to go back to Fall Guys and go exactly to the bean that you had like 6 months ago with the progression you had 6 months ago. I said, darling, you don't know the pain that we went through as children, where, you know, you could play for 7 hours and die on the last boss, and you had to go all the way back to the beginning to start at 7-0 again to get all
Mhm.
the way back to the last boss again.
Yeah.
So now I'm just sound like a grumpy old man shouting at clouds.
It is that it's true though, isn't it? We don't have any staying power, any stopping power anymore, do we? We just want
No.
everything instantly. I don't want to work for it. I just want it all now. Give me everything now.
Well, it's even going back to the, like we were talking about with Project Helix and like my ROG Ally X. It's almost like I've been spoilt with my Xbox and Quick Resume, and you know, to certain extent, I've been spoilt by my PS5. Where, oh, I've got 5 minutes to play Ratchet and Clank, or I've got 5 minutes to play Forza Horizon, and I literally, you switch it on, and in seconds you're there.
Mm.
You know, especially if it's something like Forza, you can literally pause it, go away. I mean, I think you can even power cycle your console,
Mm.
and then when you come back to it 6 months later and you start, it's exactly where you left your car, looking as clean and shiny as it was 6 months ago,
Yeah.
which is spoiled.
It is crazy. It is good when you think about it. When you boil it down to brass tacks, it's like that's pretty cool, isn't it? That is really really cool.
Well, the thing with the Rock is, like, I switched it on the other day. Where was I going? I was going somewhere the other day. Oh, that's it. So I had an accident in the car. The car's been away for 4 months. I have no idea why it's been 4 months, but I went to pick it up, and when I picked it up, got it back, there was something slightly wrong with it, so I had to take it back in again. I said, look, I'll wait. So I thought, I think it was Saturday night, and so I thought, right, let's get the ROG out. So I got the ROG out, switched it on, downloaded a couple of games. But again, I switched it on, and it must have taken about 45 minutes to do the software updates for the Xbox and for Windows. And then for some reason, it had deleted all my games.
Oh,
So I had to reinstall all the games again. And it took me a good 45 minutes to basically get it to the point that I was going to take it to, play if I didn't do any work whilst I was waiting for my car. Annoyingly, I did it, got it all bundled, packed it in, went there, took it in, handed over the keys to the car, said, I'll sit here. 10 minutes later, the guy come out, went, your car's ready. And it's like, so I never actually got to play it.
I was like, what? I spent all this time
Yeah.
waiting for this moment. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So for me, that's what, is like what I love about the PS5. I love about the Switch. It's what I love about the Xbox is the instant resume, the quick start. And all I hope is that, with the next generation of consoles we've got coming out from all the parties next year or year ons, that we just don't lose the console side of it, the quick resumes, the pick it up and be able to play when you've got 5 minutes to play, because if the next Xbox is going to be like the Ally X, and you switch it on and you've got updates to do for even 5 minutes, it's going to be like, do you know what? I can't be bothered. I'm not even going to bother switching it on.
Yeah, and that was the whole fundamental of the consoles back when, wasn't it? Is that you didn't need these updates. You didn't need to do that. You
Yeah.
plugged it in, and if your game was broken, well, it was just broken, wasn't it? Do you know what I mean? It was just, if there was a bug, there was a bug. Which I get, from a user point of view, that's not great now. But like you say, anything, the console, a game, even a controller, anything you switch, oh, it's got an update. How does my controller need an update? It's a controller. Like, what is it updating? What is it updating? But yeah, anything, isn't it? You know what I mean? And we're getting to the point now where games can't function without the internet capabilities and the updates and da-da-da. And it's just like, you do lose people at that point. You are going to lose people. It's like you say, that I just want to plug it in and play. That's it. That's all I want.
Yeah, 100%. So now we've stopped shouting at clouds. Now that the sun's just gone down out the window here. We're going to stop being one old man and one slightly younger man shouting at clouds, and we're going to get on to some news. But before we get on to the news, please can I ask anybody who's watching or listening to this podcast to please rate, review, or comment on the podcast wherever you're listening, watching, or playing with the podcast. Also, we have a sponsor for this week, Steve.
What's happened there? Like we're only three shows into the rebrand of the reboot, and we've got a sponsorship. What's that about?
Well, I might have sort of nicked a sponsor from the other podcast I do, so
I'll take it.
They won't mind.
I'll take it.
They won't mind. Go to Surfshark and get a fast VPN bundle for just £1.28 a month with 3 months extra free. And as I say, the link is in the description. I use a VPN all the time, not for anything dodgy, may I add, but especially again, going back to parenthood. Anybody who's listened to this who's not a parent is not going to get any of these jokes. But I always say to my daughter, I said, right, three things in life, Molly, you must remember. Don't talk to boys. Be safe when you go out, and if you're in a public area on a public Wi-Fi, use a VPN.
3 key philosophies that'll see you right.
Yeah, that's 3 philosophies that sees her right, and even to the point now, like we were in Starbucks at the weekend because we were going out looking for doing some shopping, and I said, I'm going to log onto the Wi-Fi and just check something, football scores or something like that. And Molly just looked at me, she went, "Are you on a VPN?" I went, "Yes, Molly, I'm on a VPN. My phone is always on a VPN." But obviously, yeah, don't forget. The good advantage about a VPN is recently when I went to Barcelona on business for a week, it enabled me to get BBC iPlayer, it enabled me to get my British Netflix account and all that lot whilst I was out there. Plus also, I don't think I've ever done it, but no, I did do it. I lie. I used Surfshark VPN once to get a documentary that was on Disney Plus in America but wasn't on Disney Plus in the UK. So I switched on Surfshark VPN on my Apple TV, set it to America, went off to Disney. It said, "Oh, it looks like you're on the travels. Would you like to watch the UK or would you like to watch America? Watch America, please." And then it gave me that documentary I could watch whilst sitting in the UK.
And also all the added benefits of the security of other VPN. What you possibly want one for. I must admit, it's something I have thought about doing, but it's something that just as a bit like when it comes to IT, that sort of thing, like a little bit lackadaisical. It's like, well, I probably should do that. It's like you say when you log into any Wi-Fi. Do you know what I mean? If you go into like say Starbucks, Spoons, wherever, you just jump on it. Do you know what I mean? You just jump on it and you don't even think about who's tracking and tracing or who could be logged into that as well, do you? So no, especially in this day and age, it is important when, especially like your phone is your life that contains everything. Like every last bit of information is on there.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I use mine all the time. Not all the time, as in like I know some people have it switched on all the time,
Mm.
but yeah. So if you want to support the podcast and you fancy about, I mean, they do have some other stuff like I can't think what it's called now, like incognito that removes like your history from the internet and things like that. So, but yeah, if you are thinking about getting a VPN or you just want to support the podcast and help us make more of these wonderful programs where we shout at clouds, pop over to Surfshark. Link is in the description of the audio podcast and the video. And Steve, we will get onto the news. And the first news story is a Sony news story. So it's not Xbox, it's a Sony news story. And Steve, you've got some good news for us.
Yeah, great, yeah. So we are spreading the love a little bit this month. But yeah, the first one is some Sony news, but it's not necessarily Sony news that we want to hear because it's following a similar vein and pattern to everything else in life. Is that the PS5, the PS5 Pro, and the Portal are all going to see price increases. So the base PS5 in the UK is going up around 90 pounds. I've got the prices here. So yeah, so base PS5 will go from 4799 to 569.99. The digital edition will go from 429 to 519.99. The Pro will go up to 789.99, which was 699.99. And the Portal will go from 199 to 209. No, 219.99, sorry. So there's some pretty sizable increases in that lot. The Portal, sorry, is not so much. It's 20 quid. Still, 20 quid's not ideal, but it's a little
Yeah.
hit. It might not put too many people off getting that. Although just the psychological ticking over 200 might do. But especially that Pro going to 789.99. Like if we're thinking like the next batch of consoles, if that's where the PS5 Pro is at, where would the PS6 be at? Do you know what I mean? If because everything's getting more expensive, and this has been driven by the shortage of parts and components because of AI demands and people hoovering all them up. So this is why part of that's gone up. Cost
Continued
wise.
global economic pressure, they
Yeah, and it's
basically
always it's
stated.
always
So
demand, global or unprecedented demand, isn't it? Usually the words that we see, but yeah, 789.99. That's eye watering to me. Do you know what I mean? I know the ROG is that sort of price, but for even just the base one, going from 479.99 to 569.99 for a console that is now 6 years old.
yeah,
Six,
yeah. So 2020 wasn't it?
yeah.
Because funnily enough, we were talking about it all when we sort of like stopped doing the pod
Mm-hmm.
6 years ago. I mean, the one that I mean, again, I'm showing my age, but it was always as I was, growing up, and it was like, whatever you buy it from in America. So if it came out in America first, which used to happen to a lot of things, if it came out in America first, and let's say it was $599, then it would be £599 in the UK. It was pretty much a given. Whether it's tariffs or that, I don't know. But when you look at, especially the PS5 Pro, the PS5 Pro over here is 700. Let's say round it up. So the PS5 Pro over here is £790. In America, it's a cent shy of $900 for a PS5 Pro. I mean, that's. I mean, even the base PS is what's that? £570,
Mhm.
and that's $650. So, yeah, I mean, it is getting to the point. I mean, I was listening to a pod this week, and they were saying, like, people were saying, do I should I buy a PS5 Pro now? Yes, now you do.
Yes.
Um, should I buy a PS5 Pro for GTA? Because arguably, unless something happens with Xbox, it's going to be the graphically stronger console to play on. Yes, buy it now because come September, October, November, when a lot of those games will be landing. we'll be happy, we'll be fortunate if it is still, £790 or $900, especially with, what's going on at the moment with, fuel prices going up every day. So it's just because, I mean, we've gone through generations and generations where your games console went down in price the older it got.
Yeah.
And obviously they've all just put them up previously, only literally within the last 6 months.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I know obviously the world is a crazy place right now, but again, a console that's 6 years old to get a price increase, is that the first time it's ever happened? I want to say it probably is the
Yeah, I
first
think
time
so.
that's happened because, like you say, you get the digital edition, you get the pro edition, you get this, so your base model just drops and drops and drops. That's just standard practice, really. And I get, I get that obviously things cost money. It costs more money than fair play. But are they still making and selling that many base PS5s to justify sticking it up that much? Surely that's just going to put people off. Surely at that point, if you think it's going to be too much of an increase, that people are going to sort of like bolt at that figure. Well, should just wind the standard version down. Say, look, you can still get them, but once that stock has depleted, that's it. It's either the digital version or the PS5 Pro version, which you can get. Granted, they're more expensive, but at some point, like I say, if this is one of potentially several price increases in however many months or what have you, the Pro is going to be even close to £1,000. To get that, and that is probably going to be the benchmark for the next console by that logic, which is terrifying. Like that.
Well, and even at this price, it makes console gaming elitist. It makes
Yeah.
my daughter, if she turned around to me for Christmas and said, "Where's it gone?" She turned around to me and said, at Christmas or for her birthday, Dad, I'd love to have a PS5. I'll be like, it's £570, darling. I love you,
Now,
but
to that.
or I can remember my cousin who's, I think he's 40 or 41 now. I can remember when he wanted a PS3, I think it was, and his mum said to him, if you want it, you save for it, you do some odd jobs, you save for it, and then you buy it. £570 is a bloody lot of odd jobs to do for your mum and dad.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm going to wash your car, Dad. How much are you going to give me? A ton?
yeah,
No, son. I'll give you 20 quid.
yeah. No, it is, and like you say, it is, and it's one of these things. And gaming in essence is a luxury, and having these nice things it is a luxury. But it's like you say, it's beyond luxury. Like you say, it's elitist. It's and this is the thing is I guess is the crossover between console and PC. Again, you obviously upgrade a PC and things, but you are getting to that territory. You get in a console that, granted, you're getting the convenience. You could probably buy a decent spec PC for that. That's probably, I mean, maybe not, but probably better than that. You know what I mean? Maybe there or thereabouts. And granted, you don't have the PS or the Xbox element or what have you. Do you know what I mean? It is a PC, but again, it's getting into that territory where consoles were here, PCs were up there. Well, like they're getting, the parity's a lot less now. So it's like, well, like if that came out now at that price, I couldn't afford. Well, I'd struggle to buy one, let alone having one or the other. Having both an Xbox and a PlayStation again is a privilege. I couldn't afford that to have both. I'd be like, I'd have to properly weigh the pros and cons up of which do I really, 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 really want because I can just about afford one of them. I can't afford two, so where am I going?
Well, if it wasn't, honestly, I think for me, if it wasn't for the fact that obviously we do the podcast again now, and I might need it for some Sony exclusives, it'd make me think about selling my PS5 because I don't really use it, and I could probably get, I reckon I could probably get what I paid for it. Because okay, it's the original Fat Boy Day One edition, but I reckon I could probably get near to what I paid for it, back 6 years ago, compared to what you'll probably be able to pick them up for now. And obviously you can guarantee that your places like CX and that are going to start putting the prices up because because it's gonna drive that. It's a bit like the car market we had a few years ago, like 4 years ago when we sold our last car. We made a killing out of secondhand value on our car, the equity in it, because it was the chip shortage. Everybody was buying second-hand cars because you couldn't buy a new car or they were coming through really, really slowly. So I mean, it's annoying. Hopefully, if you are listening to this podcast, you have your PS5 or you have your Xbox Series, whatever. Obviously, at the time you listen to this podcast, the prices should have gone up.
Mm.
But there are a few links in the descriptions of these podcasts to Amazon and places like that. So do have a hunt around. Hopefully, it might be a little bit like the Game Pass vouchers recently, where although the price went up from was it $15.99 to $22.99 for a good month or two after, you can still go on Amazon and buy and stack them for at the $15.99 price. So hopefully, if you are listening to this podcast, click on the link in the description, head over to Amazon, and you might be able to find one at the old price, old stock. But don't hang around, especially if you want one for GTA.
Yeah, definitely. Sound consumer advice.
Excellent. We like to give some consumer advice. And so, right, the next story is on with me, which is, let me just bring it down from my other screen. So I saw this on, where is this? I saw this on Games Rant. And it is basically rumor, Disney considering buying Epic Games. So Disney may be moving towards the purchase of Epic Games, according to one industry insider who has been following the media conglomerate business trajectory. A potential buyout of Epic Games by Disney would not just cause a change in ownership of games like Fortnite, but of a popular computer graphics engine series used not only in games but television, movies, and actually, I think it's used in Tesla as well. Epic Games may be best known for Fortnite. We've already discussed that. Sorry, Anthony, we brought it up again. But it's also been developing games since the early 90s, having found success with Gears of War, which a lot of people forget, Original Tournament, Infinity Blade, and then the Fortnite launch in 2017. And there are some potential crossovers between the brands. I mean, apparently Disney has been investing a lot of money into Epic about creating a Disney sort of island within Fortnite, or a big game within Fortnite. It's a funny one. I mean, Epic Games is a subsidiary pretty much totally owned by Tim Sweeney. I think I heard the other day he owns 51% of the shares, so he has the controlling stake or something like that, or he owns 51% of it. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I mean, whether it would actually happen, I'm not sure. Whether you would want it to happen, I'm not sure. But it just shows you, there are obviously when Microsoft bought Activision. And again, there's another one I cannot remember what's going through at the moment. Oh, that's it, Netflix, not Netflix, Warner Brothers and Paramount, where surely this would come under monopoly and mergers as we have it in the UK. But yeah, I mean, it's a funny one because Disney owns so much now. If they were to try and buy Epic, it would be pretty epic. Excuse the pun.
Yeah, and there have been crossovers between the two. We've seen Disney franchises go on to Fortnite. There's been the collaborations and things in the Battle Pass there previously. I don't think we discussed it on the last show. I think we shared it between ourselves on the group. Is that obviously there's been quite a lot of layoffs from Epic recently.
Yeah, was it a
thousand,
thousand?
yeah,
Thousand
thousand,
people, yeah.
yeah, 1,000 members of staff were unfortunately losing their jobs. Which for as much as we're lauding Fortnite, I think it's big giant, this big beast. There's clearly, they're having to shave some costs, and whether that has maybe thought, maybe spurred Disney to think, if they're struggling, if they could do with a bit of a support, or a bit of an injection or a bit of a boost, then that they might be interested in having a conversation. But like you say, it goes beyond the brands. Epic have Unreal Engine, which is used on production for TV shows, movies, including The Mandalorian, obviously a Disney IP. Do you know what I mean? So they could take a lot of that in house. Now, what that would mean for the wider industry of, graphic design, for movies, TV, video games, who's to say? You'd think they wouldn't meddle in it, and it would still remain as an open source for people to, use the technology. But yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? It's one of them that if it doesn't change anything, does it really damage anything? Maybe not. Do you know what I mean? It depends on what they do once they've bought it. Are there any restrictions in place? Are they going to take it in house? Will they let existing staff go? Again, it's a transition of what will happen to those staff.
Yeah.
Will there be layoffs? Will the existing staff take over the roles that are there already? So whilst it might on paper seem like, oh yeah, it'll be great because Disney will buy it and there'll be a load of money. Well, will it be? Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of unsort of hurt, not unheard, but obviously things that you don't necessarily think about that might happen that could negatively impact it as opposed to positively impacting it.
Well, I think you've only got to see when two massive companies come together. There's always going to be layoffs. I mean, there was the story as well that came out recently with because Disney were going to invest or pump, I think it was $1 billion into Sora, into OpenAI,
Mm,
into their image generation software. But then, literally out of nowhere, OpenAI shut Sora down. So obviously, the $1 billion deal, what was happening with Disney, is now gone, and and there are a few rumors floating around about it. But yeah, I mean, I think it is very much a rumor. It's very much hearsay. As I say, I know they've been working together on this, whether it's a mode or whatever. Because I was listening to one podcast today, which was like saying, you know, how many active users are in Fortnite every day compared to Roadblocks, and like Roadblocks is just like, I think it was something like 150,000 people at any one time are playing Fortnite. But there's this one game at the moment in Roblox where it was at this point that they were doing the podcast. It was 470,000 people playing. Now, obviously, that's a very different type of game,
mm.
but you can't help but think that that's the type of I can't help but think that that's the type of thing that Epic are going for. In that, when you log in to play Fortnite and you scroll down, you see those other modes and you see those content creator modes, those user generated modes. So you can't help but think that's what they're going for. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Whether it would actually ever go through, whether it'll be allowed to go through. But hey, being that Disney is still an American company, I'm sure it will get put through somehow
Yeah,
with the current administration.
definitely. They'll find a way. They'll find a way.
Yeah. So next story is with you, and it's about the Xbox part of the preview showcase that we had. Was it last week? I can't remember now. Where we had about a half hour partner preview showcase from Xbox, showing some cool little games coming to the platform.
Yeah, that's it. And I suppose these things happen anyway, regardless of obviously the things that are happening with Microsoft and Xbox. But I guess it's a chance for them to sort of reinstill the fact that games are very much the focus of what's going on, despite obviously the backtracking of the philosophy of Xbox and the shakeup management. So yes, we've had a few little things that have been shown to us. Like you say, 30 minutes is quite a fair bit crammed into a short space of time, really. So we'll try and flick through these sort of bit by bit and as quick as we can to get them all in. So there was a brand new game, Hunter the Reckoning. So that's something that was new to us when it was shown. An action RPG with contemporary monster hunters. So again, sort of like a bit of a unique hook on this one, derived from tabletop RPG. So it's an adaptation of the board game. So that's been worked into a video game. So there was that one that was first off. That's coming summer 2027. So a little bit of a sneak preview before that comes out next year. Wuthering Waves, that is coming to Xbox, which is something that I'd not seen before. But it's free to play open world RPG. But that has been on PS5 and PC already. But that's finally coming to Xbox. So that is coming this July. So that's not too far away. So that's something in the immediate future. The Expanse, Osiris Reborn. That's got a release window and a beta. So that's coming out in spring 2027, but ahead of that, obviously, there'll be the beta, which will give you a bit of a sneak preview. So it's a bit of a Mass Effect style take on. It says that popular TV sci-fi show novel series, but I've not heard of it, so I've not
Well,
checked into that one.
the only expanse that the only expanse that I knew was the one that Halle Berry was in. So I'm
Mm,
not sure if it was that one, but that did sort of float my boat, as they say.
mm,
That's right up my street with that type of game. That one really did was like, oh, okay. And then because of the early beta, the early closed beta, I I forgot to do it. It just reminded me to go on and apply for it to see if I can get into it early. But that's definitely got my name on it, 100%.
yeah, and anything sort of like Mass Effect-y, that sort of thing is definitely, like you say, gonna get my interest because I Mass Effect was such a great game, so anything that can replicate that that quality, then definitely. But yeah, I'm looking at the list. There's quite an extensive list of games that we've got in here. You've got again, it's that there's something for everybody. Stalker 2 is getting an expansion pass. You've got a Bluey game coming out for the kids. Yeah, so
Yay! I played the last Bluey game, and I wasn't with my daughter.
every parents love Bluey. It's as much for the adults as it is for the kids, isn't it? Let's be fair. There's
Yeah.
stuff in there for the adults as much as the kids. So yeah, I must admit, like, there was a couple of Paw Patrol ones on Game Pass recently, and I checked them out because Seb loves Paw Patrol. So I played a little bit with him, but I checked them out as well just to have a little, almost get me quests in
get
on, get me quests in.
get a few achievements in, yeah. Get a few
Exactly,
achievements in, get some quests in, yeah.
100%, mate,
And then obviously
100%.
you've got Hades 2 finally hits Xbox in April as well, which
Hmm.
is I played the original Hades on the Switch, and yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't really my type of game, but I think I went through and completed it once. But I know a few people have gone through and completed it many times. Stalker 2 Stalker 2 I played for a while, and I just found it quite annoying. I suppose it was a little bit like trying to go back and play Starfield again, where I was just dying really quickly and I couldn't figure
Mm.
out why I was dying. And then I was just like, "Do you know what? I just haven't got the time to invest into this." Um, but no, I mean, I scrolled in the list now, and there was Super Meat Boy 3D looks really good. That one does. 16 years after Super Meat Boy first made its entrance, this one just looks nuts. I cannot wait to play that game. And then, yeah, you've got Stranger in Heaven, Serious Sam. You've got Grave Seasons, which is a cozy farm sim ghost serial killer in Grave Seasons. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot on there. Was there anything really sort of, apart from Bluey, that really stuck out in your mind?
Yeah, I mean the is it the Eternal Life of Goldman, that sort of like little
Yes.
side scroller that piqued my interest because I'm not massively into the side scrollers, but again that just something about it just had a bit of a charming look about it, so that piqued my interest. So that'll be something that I'll be dabbling in and checking out. And then there was the Alien Deathstorm, which obviously is by Rebellion, who made Atomfall, which came out last year.
Yeah.
That's first person shooter with, you know, a, well, as it suggests, an alien death storm. It's it's a sort of almost end of world apocalypse sort of thing, but it's a death storm of aliens. So it looks like an FPS survival sort of vibe, a bit creepy, a bit eerie on another planet. FPSs are pretty much my thing, really. I guess one of the main sort of types of game I play. But that looked really nice actually. I thought that looked pretty good for early on. And obviously, as we know, Rebellion do some decent games, and I really enjoyed Atomfall. I know it's a split opinion, but I actually really liked Atomfall. But it's nice to see something slightly different. So albeit a little bit early, we didn't see much, but that's something to look forward to come to next year as well.
Yeah, and as I say, it's I can't. I'm trying to see, look at it now. I can't think if they're all coming to Game Pass. I don't think they are, but especially when some of these come onto Game Pass, things like Grave Seasons, things like Serious Sam, things like Super Meat Boy, what's it, Forever Ago, Frog Squad and things like that. I think when it again, a story to sound like a bit like an Xbox fanboy, because it's the same with PS. Was that it just sometimes makes you look at it and go, do you know what? What do I fancy playing today?
Hmm.
I haven't got time to jump into Fortnite, or I've completed the season pass, or I'm waiting for Gears of War to come out or something like that. And it's like, what can I just pick up and play, see what it's like? Because it's in quotations free or part of your service. You don't mind having to jump in and play and see what it's like.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Like you say, not all of these are going to come, but you'd like to think that in some capacity, that maybe eventually, if it's not sort of day one at launch, like eventually they will creep out. But there's plenty in there that are coming. Like you say, Fraud Squad's coming. Bluey. Is that one coming? Was Bluey coming to Game Pass? Can't remember. But like you say, Stalker's already on there, so you've got plenty in there to keep you
The last
going.
one was. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
the last Bluey was. I wouldn't have paid for it. I just went in it to get 100
Oh, yeah,
achievements
exactly.
or
Yeah,
1,000 achievements.
yeah,
So,
exactly.
but yeah, keeping on the showcase vein with Xbox, they have actually announced that they are going to be doing the 2026 showcase on the 7th of June, followed by a Gears E-Day Direct immediately after. So anybody who's watched a showcase from Xbox in the last few years knows they generally do the show, which I think, if I'm right, is usually about 90 minutes long, about the games that are coming out this year and into next year and maybe the year after. And then they do a deep dive afterwards into one of the games that they want to talk about. So a lot of people thought it might be Fable, but obviously they've already done the deep dive into Fable. So reading from Xbox Wire, it's time for another look at the future of gaming. The Xbox Game Showcase 2026 will air on Sunday the 7th of June at 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern, or the usual very convenient time of 6 p.m. UK time. And it will be followed immediately by a deep dive into the return of one of Xbox's legendary franchises, Gears of Wars, with Gears of War E-Day Direct. We'll begin with our annual Xbox showcase, including first looks at the huge news of upcoming titles from our first party studios across the Xbox family, as well as our third party partners around the globe, from the biggest franchises to soon to be indie darlings. I did see they are also, to help us celebrate the 25th anniversary, we're excited to bring back the Xbox Fan Fest Showcase. This year's experience would include a look back at the last 25 years alongside a forward view of what's next. And then there's a chance to enter it. I'm not sure where it is, whether they're going to do location fan fest like I think they did a few years ago, or whether they're going to do it in one country based. But yeah, I mean, I I'm really looking forward to. I always look forward to. I think we all, as all the Sparks, look forward to that Sunday. 6 p.m. You've got a full belly of Yorkshire puddings and roast beef and gravy after having your Sunday lunch, and then you sit down and watch that, and then E-Day after that is going to be nuts. I cannot wait.
Yeah, and obviously there's going to, you'd like to think there's going to be a few little bits and bobs that we haven't seen in there as well. That something new. Obviously, we're expecting some big things, like you say, so maybe some news on Fable. Some other bits that we know is coming. But as it stands, obviously, we don't know when they're coming. So hopefully, as part of this, like Fable will get a release day. Even a window. Gears will get a window. Some other things that we know that or even might not come. That, because it's always nice when these things happen. If it's like, oh, it's out now. You know what I mean? They're like some of the smaller titles, usually they just drop something. It's available right now. But I'm not the biggest Gears of War fan. I've not always been a massive fan of the series as everybody else. But again, it's one of the jewels in the crown for Xbox and Microsoft. So to see what they can do with it, and put it on the new software, beef it up, see what they can do and what they can deliver. And that dive of an extended preview and run through will be nice to see. So yeah, like you say, it's a nice little watch, isn't it, for 90 minutes or so, just to,
Yeah.
again, it's their chance to say, in light of everything that's happened, reinstill the confidence for everybody to say, this is what's happening, this is what's coming, the games are still happening, don't worry, we've got this, we've got it, trust us, and we'll treat you to this, plethora of games that are coming out. and like I say, hopefully some stuff that we even don't know about yet.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to see a bit more of Blade because sort of Blade first sort of came out for Arcane. I think it's doing it. That first sort of showed its head on 2023, I would say. So it's 3 years since we've seen that. My feelings are because we're getting Halo Combat Evolved remaster. We're going to get that. We're obviously going to get Fable,
Mm,
and then I think Gears will be the holiday game. So I think you'll see that around that Call of Duty spot, maybe into December or maybe before. But obviously, everybody's going to be sort of trying to circumnavigate GTA, and then obviously if Project Helix does land next year, so let's say hopefully. I will get enough points by then, but hopefully for Christmas next year, Christmas 2027, we'll get the Xbox Helix out, which I think is a great name, Xbox. If you're listening to this, which I know you're not, but Xbox Helix for me is just like the merging of console and PC gaming into one. But I think you're see the actual next proper Halo, or maybe a Halo prequel or a Halo reboot, maybe redo it
mm.
all again. I think you'll see that on the next Xbox, but no, I love it. I mean, it comes around too soon. It's one of those things every year that, as the Sparks, we're always talking about it. I think what we'll have to do is see if we can get James and Anthony on for a special Sparks pre-show. So, and do our predictions of what we think we might see, and then maybe do one. And when we tried to do a follow-on years ago, and the problem is follow-ons or watch-alongs, they don't work unless you're in the same building on the same internet connection. Because I remember, we did it years ago, and I think it was like I think it was like I was there. I can't remember if you were there. Anthony was there. James was there. Manny was there. I think Wee Man was there. And we're all watching, but because all of our broadbands were slightly different, all you heard was like Anthony going, "Oh my god, I can't believe it!" And then you'd hear this, "What? I'm behind by a few seconds. What have they done?" So I think you're. I
Spoiler
think if
alert.
yeah, I think unless you're in the same building, it's hard to do. But maybe we'll try and do a showcase prediction or something like that. That would be quite cool.
Yeah, that definitely. And then obviously, like you say, do a retrospective and look back and see what's coming, and obviously digest what did and didn't happen. It's always part of the fun, isn't it? Just seeing what as much as anything what did happen. Well, what didn't happen? Was anything big missing? Because that sound sometimes says as much anything as when it actually is being showcased as well.
Well, they've got so many studios now as well, so
Yeah, yeah,
But
cramming it all in.
yeah. So right, we've done PC. Sorry, no, well actually no, we did a bit of PC.
Mm.
We've done PS5. We've done PlayStation. We've done Xbox, and now because of my lovely background behind me, with Mr. Mario peeking over my shoulder here in the Mushroom Kingdom, we're going to do a little bit of Switch news. So
Yes.
the first of two Switch stories
Mm.
is with you, Steve.
Yeah, we're going to do a full house. So yeah, so we've got two bits which kind of tie into each other, I think, in some respects. But yeah, the first one is I seem to get the bearer of bad news on these console announcements. So yeah,
You're the console Grim Reaper.
yeah, I'm the Grim Reaper. But yeah, so it's Switch 2 production is being cut by around 33% following weak holiday sales, which is what was being claimed, like I said, following a weak period over Christmas for Nintendo, which for Nintendo is unusual, and for consoles in general, holidays, Christmas, it's the busiest period of the year when sales go through the roof, and especially for Nintendo, generally speaking, their consoles sell well, sell exceptionally well, sell millions of units. But I know the Switch was blighted by obviously a last minute price increase, for tariffs and things. They weren't sure at one point um, if they'd be able to launch and when in America, on the pricing and availability and was there going to be shortages. So, the release of the Switch 2 was a little bit blighted by that. But it's saying that Nintendo expects to make 4 million Switch 2 units this quarter, which is down 33% on 6 million it previously planned to. So
Yeah.
four million is still a lot, it's still a lot. But obviously, again, I can understand why they might be reining it in and dialing it back a little bit if there's uncertainty of the market, turbulence in parts, production costs, that sort of thing. It kind of makes sense to do that, but again, it kind of maybe not necessarily a warning shot, but is it an early indicator of maybe consoles? slowing down, consoles, sales slowing down. Because like I say, Nintendo, usually it's just they sell and they sell and they sell and they sell and they sell. Whereas this is, well, it's going to slow down. PlayStation have put, Sony's putting their prices up. Nintendo's going the other way of, well, we'll sort of rein it in rather than whacking potentially customers with a higher price point. So I think they're erring on the side of caution with this one.
Well, I think the thing is that Nintendo were so Nintendo did such a fantastic job with the Switch, the OG Switch, that it was such a revolutionary console. I mean, I can remember, was it the NX or something like that, when it was like the code name, like the Project Helix code name
Mm,
for it. I think the thing was, no one really expected what the Switch was going to be,
yeah,
um, and I think it was so successful that. It was people like us, people like Anthony and James, who obviously went out and bought the Switch 2 as soon as it sort of landed. Um, but I think there's a lot of, because obviously I don't think there's many games, but a lot of the games aren't Switch 2 exclusive apart from a few. So a lot of people are still keeping their old console to play on.
yeah, yeah. Well, this is it, and it's interesting. Like you say, it's the flexibility. It's the things that the Switch offers, and you know, like you say, the Switch was. If you look at it, the Switch, like you say, it was nobody expected it to do what it did. And almost it kind of you know blew people's predictions and expectations away. Granted, it's not the most powerful of machines. It's not, and it's still fundamentally fueled and powered by their own brands and games.
But then Nintendo's never had the most powerful
No.
console. Ever since Nintendo have had a console, Sega have always been better, or
Hmm.
PlayStation have always been
Yeah.
better. So they've always just kept to their. I mean, look at I'm gonna. It's like the Pokemon game, Pokopia.
Yeah.
That is such a Animal Crossing come Pokemon game that it is only, I think it's a game that only Nintendo could do on their console, and they don't need PS5 or Series X style graphics, but yet they will sell bucket loads of it.
Yeah, and I think in some, the Switch 2 obviously is an incremental improvement over the original Switch. Was it a massive one? The screen, the battery life, that sort of thing. It wasn't a, you'd have to again be sort of more the die-hard sort of person that wanted to jump in and upgrade it. Some people just like, I'll stick with my, Switch Lite or whatever, the later variants of the original Switch. So again, that might come into it. But again, it was the fastest selling console ever at launch for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Beating the Wii and everything else. So again, it sold off like a house on fire. And I was shocked at one point that you could get your hands on them so easily, because part of the thing with Nintendo is that you wanted one because you couldn't get it. It's like, oh, I'll get one. I have to get it because I can't. And not long after it launched, it was like, well, I can quite easily get one. So it's like, well, I don't feel the need to get one as much now, and I don't have the FOMO or the elusive trail of one. So
Well, as we've said, and it's finances as well.
yeah, yeah,
At the end of the day, it's if little Billy's got a Switch OLED or a Switch Lite. I mean, Molly's still got her Switch Lite, which it's still playing the games they want to play. It's still playing the things they want to play with. So and I'm seeing it with some of my clients, are very wealthy people, but they're even not swapping out their projector or not upgrading this or upgrading that, because at the moment they just so much uncertainty that globally, that they go, look, just keep the Switch one for the minute, and we'll look at getting you a Switch 2 maybe closer to Christmas, depending on if the price comes down or whatever.
yeah. Well, all right. So as long as it doesn't go up, that's the main thing. As
Go
long
up,
as,
yeah,
long as it
yeah.
doesn't go up.
Maybe we should buy a load of Switches now and sit on
Mm,
them until Christmas, just in case.
yeah,
No, I don't encourage
we're not
anybody to do that.
scalping. We're not scalpers.
We're not scalping. That's the word, isn't it? So on a complete flip, on my last story and the last story of the pod, Nintendo Switch 2 has a new model coming out, but hold your thoughts there for a second. So this report from IGN: Nintendo Switch 2 with a removable battery is in production, reports reveal, but only for Europe. So this is basically Nintendo's developing an updated Switch 2 model with a removable battery, according to new reports. The revised Switch 2 console will come with fresh versions of its Joy-Con 2 controllers, which allow users to remove and replace the lithium-ion batteries. According to a Japanese newspaper, the new Nintendo Switch 2 model will first debut in Europe in accordance with the European Union's right to repair legalization that requires electronics. It requires electronics allow for easy battery replacement. Can't say the word. The legislation was originally introduced back in 2023 by the EU, although companies have had until February 2027 to prepare for changes. The idea behind it gives consumers the ability to keep their old devices running for longer, with the ability to replace old or degraded batteries rather than having to fork out for a new console or a premium repair.
Mm, which I kind of get that. I kind of
Yeah.
get it. Kind of. But it's I get the longevity of, like you say, that rather than it's dead. You know what I mean? It's dead. Like like phones have got inbuilt batteries, whereas Android used to be able to take it out and swap it. They don't have it anymore. So from that perspective, I get it. Why didn't they do it from the start?
Money, isn't it? It's probably just cost. And the fact is, it's I can always remember when people were kicking off about them removing the optical from the back of the Xbox. I can't remember if it was when it was the refresh of last generation or whether they went into when they went into the Series X. But I remember Phil Spencer saying, we have the analytics, we have the data to say that only 0.05% or 0.01% of people are using the optical to connect to their headphones or whatever like that. So if we put not only if we put a 20 cent or 20 pence optical connector on every Xbox and we sell 10 million of them, is that a lot of wasted money? But it's also a lot of wasted product that
Hmm.
is going to end up in a landfill somewhere. I mean, I read an interesting report the other year, I think it was, which was, I'm going to probably butcher this, but it's something along the lines of every single bit of plastic ever created is still on the earth somewhere.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Even if you burn it, it goes into the atmosphere. Even if it degrades and goes into sea, it's in the sea. So I think, like I remember I look at like what I do, look at Sky. Sky, if you leave Sky or you get a Sky box swapped over in the UK. So anybody who's not watching this in the UK, Sky is a satellite TV provider in the UK. You have to send your box back to Sky. And a lot of people will say, oh, it's just Sky wanting to redo them and sell them out. Actually, it's their net to zero. They've got to be seen to be taking those boxes back, getting them repaired, precious metal stripped out and recycled. And I think, of all the rubbish things the EU do, I think this is a good one in respects of that, yeah, if you've got a set of Joy-Cons and, they've died, and you want to be able to, get them repaired because, you can order the battery online and open it up yourself, and iFixit will show you how to do it on a YouTube video rather than just slinging them in the bin and spending, whatever, 50, 60, 70 pounds on a new set of Joy-Cons. I can only think that's going to be good. It does make me wonder about the act because it seems to look at the Joy-Cons, not the actual console,
Mm.
which is because obviously there is a battery in the actual console as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean that's interesting. I mean we're going to get a new Switch. That's the plus side.
Yeah,
It's
this
just not going to be an OLED screen.
no, and and again, the environmental piece and the fixing things rather than just chucking it away and getting a new one. I get because that's all we do in this world is we're very wasteful. We're not resourceful. We don't fix things. We just buy a new one. So again, I get it, but it's like it's not a reason to buy another one. Do you know what I mean? Again, it's
Yeah,
that wouldn't be the thing that do you know what? Go on, then I'll get one now. That's not going to be the thing, which is why, and I get, I was saying cynically why they do it from the get go. I get that they probably didn't have it in time for that, or it was already planned, so they couldn't do it. I get that it takes time to change a design to, encompass that. If that took over the design, is it going to take over the original one? Is it going to be alongside the current model? Again,
I think in the EU it will take over
take
it. So
over.
it will. They'll sell, Amazon and all that will sell through the stock that they've got, and then that new stock with replaceable battery
Mm.
Joy-Cons and that will start to come through.
Yeah, like I say, I understand it. I completely get it. To give people more of a chance, like say, in light of things getting more expensive, well, you compare it for £100 rather than spending £400 on a new one, well, fine,
Yeah.
you're going to spend the £100. So yeah, I do get it. I do get it, and I guess in some respect, hats off to Nintendo for doing it. Like I say, if it's going to replace the existing model, then yes, it will sell some, but it's not going to be the thing that makes people buy it again, I guess. But again, they've got to be shown to be trying to be better, be cleaner, be more environmentally conscious and environmentally friendly. So yeah, it's a good thing that they're doing. And like I say, rather than just saying, no, my Switch is dead, you've got an opportunity to at least bring it back to life.
Like I did 4 times with my Xbox 360. I think I got the red ring of death
Red Ring.
3 or 4 times. Yeah, I think I got the red ring of death twice on the OG Xbox 360, and then I got it. And I remember getting it on the second time, and I got excited because I'm like, "Oh, excellent! It means I can update to the Elite, the black one."
Mm.
So I updated to the Elite, and then I got the Elite, and then about 6 months after I got the Elite, I got it again. And I'm like, "Oh, for God's sake!" And then at that point, I think Microsoft had turned around and said, "We'll do a replace or refund policy." So then I got, I think, I forgot my fourth Xbox 360, another black Elite, which basically saw me right out until the Xbox One came around. So yeah, there was some serious dead waste literally sitting around back in those days. So
Oh yeah.
as long as let's hope that doesn't happen again with
There's
any
just
of
a
these.
graveyard of switches somewhere.
Yeah, yeah, there'd be a little plot of land in Africa somewhere where someone's stripping all these switches down.
Yeah, yeah.
But on that jovial note, that is us at the end of our podcast.
Indeed.
We have successfully brought it in within an hour. Not
Mhm.
actually. I'm looking at the clock now, and I think we're going to be exactly the same amount of time we've done for the last 2 pods.
With nothing but consistent. That's what we are.
I think did I send you a picture the other day of like once I uploaded it to Buzzsprout? I
Yeah.
think when I sent you the picture the other day, and we were in something like 57
Oh,
seconds.
it was insanely close. It was too
It was
too close to think it was unplanned, but it really was.
We should not either end it now and keep it, or we should just carry on for another like 3 hours, and then just really sort of like maybe when the showcase comes around, we'll break a 2-hour podcast.
Yeah, we'll split it into parts.
But so that's it for this week's episode of Gamers of the Lost Spark podcast. Don't forget you can keep up to date with us on social medias at Lost Spark Podcast. We are also now down with the children on TikTok.
Answers coming soon.
I did say that we should do a dance, we should come up with a dance and do a TikTok dance, which I think Chesham found very funny. But yeah, so we will be snipping and clipping the podcast for bits and pieces. So find us over on social medias at Lost Spark Podcast. You can also find us on YouTube, where you can watch previous episodes if this is the first episode you've watched. And you can even go back for about 10 years and watch, back to, I think it was episode 40. So Steve, where can people find you on Xbox, PS, YouTube and social media?
Pretty much everywhere. I'm at SteeCarter91. I'm now very, very streamlined. So if you Instagram, PlayStation, Xbox, I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's pretty much where I had a Twitter, but no one uses Twitter anymore now, do they? Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much it. You find me on Instagram, you'll find me on Xbox, you find me on PlayStation. They're the three places you'll find me hiding out.
Okay, cool. I am on PlayStation and Xbox. I am General Letdown if you want to jump on and play some games. On social media, I am Mr. Stuart Burgess. So we hope you've enjoyed the podcast. If you have any feedback or you would like to get involved with the pod, please send us an email to hello@gamersoftheLostSpark.com or comment or drop us a DM on social media. There's so many ways you can get in touch with us these days. If you want to get involved, you've got a question, you've got an answer, you want to come on the podcast, reach out, give us a shout, and we'll happily welcome you in.
Yeah, definitely. Anything at all. I like seeing the comments drop in, so yeah, I'll try and check out and reply to comments. And we have had some, Stu, haven't we? People that, it's nice to see you back, which after 6 years absence, it's nice that people still getting the notifications and still finding us. So we're clearly doing something right.
We've had a couple of nice couple of nice comments about the PC gaming side of it, and next consoles becoming PC games consoles as well. So yeah, please do comment because we love reading them, and we'll try and get back to everyone. So that's it. Yeah, thanks for listening to this podcast 179. So that makes the next one in a couple of weeks 180. So thanks for listening, and thanks for jumping on board, Steve.
No, thank you as always, mate, and thank you guys for listening.
Excellent. See you next week.
Take
Cheers.
care.
Bye.
Bye.